Arnold Schwarzenegger going on the record, raising the prize money at the Arnold Classic to $750,000 for the winner. That's right, $750,000. I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body. And that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Dave Palumbo here for another RX Muscle rant. Today's topic, Arnold Schwarzenegger going on the record, raising the prize money at the Arnold Classic to $750,000 for the winner. That's right, $750,000.
The 50th anniversary coming up, we're gonna go and do something very special. We're gonna up the cash prizes from $500,000 to $750,000, and the total cash prizes will go from $1 million to $1.5 million.
Look, I had a feeling, John and I, the other day on our Palumbo podcast, predicted that someone had to step up and raise the prize money. John speculated that Arnold is the guy to do it. He's got the bank account, he's got the connections. The Olympia was at 600 this past year. We'll see it probably at 600 again unless Jake Wood decides to raise it. But Arnold has announced for 2026, we're going to see $750,000 given away to the winner. And then we're going to see $250,000 given away to the winner the following week at the Arnold UK. So technically, you could win $1 million if you'd win both shows. But we got to focus on one show. This is the highest prize money that we've ever seen in the history of bodybuilding. $750,000 eclipses everything. The Olympia had the previous record at $600,000 in 2024. I don't know if Jake Wood is going to make any accommodations now this year to try to raise it higher than the $750,000 or stick with the $600,000 and maybe then the following year make an adjustment, because Arnold will not be raising that prize money till obviously the 26th edition in March. But that's a huge deal for Arnold. And Arnold went on the record very, very aggressively and said, listen, I'm going to make the stage look simple, which I have to assume is going to mean we're going to see a blacker background. We're not going to see all the pomp and circumstance. Arnold wants to pack that arena in. He wants the best competitors on that stage, which you're going to see. I can't imagine anyone sitting out of that show who thinks that they have a chance at winning $750,000. You'd be nuts if you did. If you don't do this show and you're a top 5 Olympian, you're crazy. That's a lot of prize money. Plus, the other placings are going to be boosted up as well. So this is big news for bodybuilding, because once the prize money, and we're close now, once that prize money gets to that $1 million mark where you could win $1 million for winning a show, we're going to get some heavy hitters in these competitions. Not only the guys that are currently existing, it's going to draw new talent into bodybuilding, because guys that are great athletes are going to say, you know what? Maybe I don't want to get my face bashed in doing MMA, or maybe I don't want to, get my head pummeled, playing football. Maybe I don't want to get a hockey puck into my jaw. Maybe you're going to see a lot more athletes that would go into these other sports now say, you know what, I got a good physique. Bodybuilding is relatively, non-impact in the sense that, you might get hurt in the gym, but no one's hitting you, in your face, or you're not going to get concussions or anything like that. And you might see a lot more. I think we're going to see a lot more talent going into the bodybuilding sport, whether starts off in classic and then progresses to open. But let's face it, the money is in open bodybuilding. You can make some money in classic, but right now the money is in open bodybuilding. If you win the Olympia, you win the Arnold. Jim Mannion just gave $100,000 away in Pittsburgh. Bader Badai is going to give $140,000 away in Dubai. And these prize money packages will keep increasing and increasing and increasing, because everyone's got to keep up with each other, which is great. I love the fact that Arnold keeps pushing that envelope. $750,000 is going to make the Olympia have to raise their prize money over that, right? Because you don't want to say the Arnold Classic has the highest prize money, higher than the Olympia, because then it makes the Arnold seem more important. Now, great, granted, the title of Mr. Olympia is the most important thing for most bodybuilders. They want to have that title. But at the end of the day, the most money usually draws the best talent. Let's face it. I'm sure that if you talk to guys like Chris Cormier, Kevin Levrone, Flex Wheeler, guys that never won the Olympia, and you ask them, hey, would you rather win Mr. Olympia or would you rather win $1 million? I think a lot of them would say you'd rather win $1 million. So I think that Jake understands that, and Jake Wood will have to raise the prize money. If I were Jake and I can do it and I can pull it off, I would go right to $1 million, to be honest with you. And just, look, there's a battle to $1 million at this point. Whoever gets to $1 million, and I've said this before, first is going to be the guy to say, hey, I gave $1 million away first. I'm shocked that Arnold hasn't done it, but I guess he feels that at this point, creeping up little by little is probably a better way to go, because if he can keep saying every year that, hey, I got the most prize money, hey, I got the most prize money, hey, I got the most prize money, he gets a little more mileage out of raising the prize money. But I think whoever gets to that $1 million mark first is going to be able to have the bragging rights of saying, I gave $1 million away to one man who won the Mr. Olympia, or who won the Arnold, or who won whatever first. And that will go down in history as people say, hey, he's the first guy to give $1 million away. So at this point, Arnold knows Joe Weider's not around. He doesn't have to worry about, hey, I don't want to give away more than Joe, who's a good friend of mine. And that's why the prize money stagnated for many, many years, because Joe Weider always wanted to give away more for the Mr. Olympia, and Arnold respected Joe so much because Joe brought Arnold over that Arnold never wanted to go higher than Joe. And so they kind of kept it, stable for many, many years until Joe obviously sold the Olympia and sold the, his Weider Publishing. And then when Joe passed and AMI took over, they started boosting the prize money. Then Arnold boosted the prize money, obviously, a couple of years ago after COVID. And now we're in this, arms race to see who's going to give $1 million away first. Arnold, upped the prize money a year or two ago to $500,000. Jake Wood then bumped it to $600,000 at the Olympia. Arnold now saying $750,000. Do we see Jake Wood raise it this year or the following year? But he's got to raise that prize money to keep up with Arnold and to eclipse him a little bit. Once again, if I were Jake and Dan, I would sit down and try to find a sponsor who will come to the table with the kind of money you're looking for. You might have to go to a celebrity like The Rock, or you might have to go to I would look for a Red Bull or some kind of extreme sport company that does stuff like that. There's got to be someone out there who's got money that can put it up for the bodybuilding world. I wouldn't even care if they went to the porn industry and got it. Who cares where the money comes from, at this point? Go get that money. Let's see $1 million, because if the Olympia goes to $1 million, Arnold has got to go to $1 million after that. And then you're going to see these other countries like Dubai going to go to $500,000 and raise that prize money as well. Look, if we get to a point in the next 5 years where there's, legitimately the ability to make, $5 million, if you win 3 or 4 shows, like Derek is kind of setting up right now. We kind of have this Grand Prix or, super tour where we call it the Grand Slam, whatever we want to call it, the Arnold, the Pittsburgh, and then the Olympia. If you can take home, $3 million from winning those 3 all in 1 year, you'll see guys competing all year round. Guys will no longer take off the whole year. They can't afford to, because let's face it, bodybuilders have a limited lifespan, just like any athlete does. And when are you going to be your best? There's probably a 15-year span, maybe 10-year span where you're at your absolute peak, you can make money and do your best. After that, your body starts getting worse, So not many guys have the staying power of a Dexter Jackson that could last as long as he did. Most people's bodies break down, they get injuries, they don't look as good. So let's say we have 10 solid years to be your best. Okay? How many times can you compete? The way guys have been going, it's been like once or twice a year they'll compete, and that's not a lot. You're not going to be able to retire on that money. But now, with the money the way it is, I think you're going to see guys, they're going to say, you know what, even if my career is cut a little short and I'm only going to get 5 to 7 years out of my career because I'm competing more frequently, I don't care, because if I'm going to bank all that money, I'll retire younger, spare my health, and I'll have money to invest in open businesses and buy properties for myself, or whatever you want to do with that money, hopefully not waste it all. Some guys will, some guys won't, some guys will be smart with it. But at least for the very first time in the history of bodybuilding, bodybuilders will be able to retire with money in the bank and an ability to earn, future earnings. Let's face it, if you put, $2 million in the bank, even at 4.5% interest, which is minimal, right? You can make more than that if you put it in the right places. You can live off the interest, essentially, if you're smart. So never before. Most bodybuilders had to go get regular jobs, or if they, nowadays, obviously with the internet, there's social media and there's online coaching, which obviously gives a lot athletes the option to do stuff in the industry and still make money. But prior to that, that wasn't the case. Very few bodybuilders were able to stay in the bodybuilding industry and make a living from it. Only the real industrious ones did that. Other guys were going and getting regular jobs, Here's an ability now to take the money that you made, parlay it into more money, or just put it in the bank and live off the interest, and buy a house for yourself, cash, and be set for life. And that's a very comforting thing for a lot of guys to know, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be, deserted when bodybuilding's over. I'm going to actually have some money. Now, granted, that's only the elite guys that are going to be in that position. Still, the guys that are, that are not placing in these big shows are still going to, are still stuck in the same position. But those guys obviously still have avenues in coaching, online coaching, starting your own supplement company, having a social media presence, having your own YouTube channel that you can monetize. There's a lot of ways to make money, but it is super exciting. Arnold, I got to take my hat off to you. You did the right thing. I love what I'm seeing. I like the fact that you're challenging the other promoters to also raise that prize money as well, to try to keep up with you. And you're not satisfied just letting the status quo be the status quo. I'm sure you can drive off into the sunset on your horse if you wanted to at this point in life. You have plenty of money, but you're giving back consistently to the industry. You're staying in the industry. You're giving bodybuilders an opportunity to make money. I don't know if you're raising the money through sponsors or you're putting your own money, but I commend you for doing that. And I commend guys like Jake Wood for putting their own money up, because these people are the benefactors of our bodybuilding society. They're keeping the sport alive. They're carrying the torch, and we need people to do that because we don't want the industry to die. We don't want the industry to go in the opposite direction. We want the trajectory to keep going upward and onward. And Arnold, great job. Dave Palumbo with an RX Muscle Rant.